Hello, my friends. D.L. Anderson here. Welcome back to Transformation by Truth podcast as we share the truth concerning these last days and what you must do to save yourself from the violent times that are just ahead. Today's podcast is a word of truth accounting of the end times. The end is coming. The end is near. Today's podcast is entitled End Times 164, Rapture Truth, One Taken, One Left, Part 3. The podcast objectives are analyze the requirement of the first season of these last days, analyze how we are taken from the second season in these last days, analyze how we are taken from the third season in these last days, and analyze how we are taken from the fourth season in these last days. This lesson contains timelines and other visuals. Therefore, if you are listening to the podcast, I advise you to watch the video version on our website or YouTube, or request a PDF of the lesson so you can add the visual effect. Restored in spirit and in truth. Now, in the most recent podcast, we took our first major step in understanding the words of our loving master when he spoke, saying, "In that night there shall be two in one bed, the one shall be taken, and the other shall be left." Here again, this is not some instantaneous event where thousands of so-called believers across the world mysteriously vanish to meet the master in the air, according to a rapture theory that A, has no purpose, and B, contradicts the Father's times and seasons. Quite the contrary. The process in which one is taken and one is left spans the full duration of these last days. Specifically, those who are taken are those who have fulfilled the requirements on each season, and they have proven it by passing every test. On the other hand, those who are left are those who did not fulfill the requirements on the current season. They did not pass every test. For that reason, they will not be guarded. Rather, they will be marked for death. Now, this death may not occur in the ensuing season. It may not even occur in the season after that. Nevertheless, before these last days end, they will surely die. For there is a point they will not go beyond, a line they will not cross. Rather, they will all be left behind. We analyze this procedure with specific regards to the first season in these last days, that is, the restoration of the nation of Israel. Besides highlighting the spiritual nature of this restoration, here is what we determined in the most recent podcast. Those who are restored in spirit and in truth in the first season are prepared to obtain the seal of Elohim in the second season. Therefore, the requirement of the first season of these last days is to experience a restoration of spirit and truth, such that you are elected into the spiritual nation of Israel, which I will refer to as Yasharal, that is, a spiritual nation of upright men and women who are under the restoration. Now, those who fulfilled this requirement were taken by the Father into the ensuing season, and those who remain true to the Father have obtained the seal of Elohim, or they will obtain it before this season ends. As I have often warned, this season will end soon. Therefore, If you do not have the seal, you best be on your way to obtaining it. Along these lines, I will progress this lesson by analyzing how we are taken from the second season in these last days and carried into the third season, for it will be more difficult and violent than the season before it. Carried through the sealing. Now, as you can see by the timeline below, the sealing of the set apart ones is the second season in these last days. Seeing as all the seasons in these last days constitute the time of the end, the sealing of the set apart ones is an extension of the restoration of the nation of Israel. In effect, we are restored such that we can be sealed. And thus, where there is no restoration, there can be no sealing. More perfectly, the Spirit leads us into all truth. And as we walk in the truth, receiving and accepting every line and verse, we obtain the seal of Elohim. This is why John writes in 3 John 1:4, I have no greater joy than to hear of my children walking in truth. It is because he understood this was the requirement on the seal of Elohim. By definition, the seal of Elohim is a super feature of the set apart spirit that insulates you from all evil and any matter that is not the Father's will. It is the standard that is activated when the enemy comes in like a flood. It is your ticket into the secret place of the Most High. See Psalm 91:1. Now, if this sounds like an amazing prospect to you, then we are most definitely in agreement. However, you must never underestimate the investments you must make, the price you must pay to obtain the seal of Elohim. Remember, life's greatest investments are precursors to life's greatest rewards. Likewise, in a world on fire, where death and destruction are on every hand, the only matter of true value, the only thing that can save you, again, is the seal of Elohim. Trust me, this will become abundantly clear once you understand how quickly mankind will die off in the upcoming years, and the violent nature of death that will befall those who did not obtain the seal of Elohim while they had the chance. Carried through the sifting. Now, as you can see by the timeline below, the sifting of the nations is the third season in these last days. By definition, the sifting of the nations is a worldwide judgment depicted by a leading wave of destruction which will afflict every nation on the earth. During this time, the messengers of Elohim will destroy 1/3 of mankind. Explicitly, those who do not have the seal of Elohim. My dear friends, that is more than 2.5 billion people. For historical context, the world has never experienced that level of death. Even World War II, which claimed the lives of approximately 120 million soldiers and civilians, pales in comparison to the sifting of the nations. Not only will the sifting claim 21 times more lives than World War II, it will be a global calamity. Unlike World War II, it will directly impact every nation on earth. Here lies a major inflection point in these last days. Namely, the sifting of the nation marks the beginning of the unprecedented death and destruction of these last days. Per the timeline below, the first two seasons are centered on preparing the children of Elohim for the following three seasons. These three seasons are the focus of these last days. In line with the parable of the darnel of the field, these three seasons are a manifestation of Matthew 13, 39 through 42. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are the messengers. As the darnel then is gathered and burned in the fire, so it shall be at the end of this age. The son of Adam shall send out his messengers, and they shall gather out of his reign all the stumbling blocks and those doing lawlessness, and shall throw them into the furnace of fire. My dear friends, the sifting of the nations marks the commencement of this violent confiscation. The messengers of Elohim will arise, and they will destroy all who do not have the seal of Elohim, for they did not qualify themselves to participate in the millennial reign. Here again, I will go into greater detail concerning this season in the next series of lessons. What you need to know at this time is sure. If you do not have the seal of Elohim, you will not be guarded during the sifting of the nations. And if death does not take you during the sifting, it will take you in one of the next two seasons. Carried through Mystery Babel. Now, as you can see by the timeline below, the destruction of Mystery Babel is the fourth season in these last days. At the climax of the sifting of the nations, there will be a great destruction in the earth, the destruction of Mystery Babel. The million-dollar question is this: what is Mystery Babel? The answer, quite simply, Mystery Babel is a world power in the earth. Now, the simple answer is a derivative of the complex nature of Mystery Babel, in the fact that defining this multifarious entity cannot be achieved in one podcast, let alone one section. However, Mystery Babel is fundamentally a nation in the earth and the prevailing influence of that nation. By definition, Babel is translated as confusion by mixing. It is a system represented by anti-Mashiach policies, religion, and state. The prevailing world power advocating these policies, and to a lesser degree, the nations that benefit from and uphold this anti-Mashiach system. Adding mystery to this definition of Babel, and we can further understand Mystery Babel as a hidden or secret entity that advocates and enforces anti-Mashiach policies in the earth. Thus, Mystery Babel is indeed a nation, but it extends beyond one nation. Per the timeline below, Elohim will destroy Mystery Babel in season 4, at the height of the sifting of the nations and the great destruction of that season. Now, the destruction of Mystery Babel will come suddenly, and it will catch many off guard. The entire world will be on fire and in the midst of multiple crises. And then, At the height of the sifting of the nations, Mystery Babel will be utterly destroyed and left without inhabitant. Here lies the inflection and the reason why many will not make it beyond the fourth season in these last days. It is for the following reason, a reason we will analyze thoroughly in future podcasts, and a reason I pray you never forget. Although the entire world will be on fire and on the receiving end of the fierce wrath and judgment of Elohim, Mystery Babel will receive the greatest measures of wrath and the highest levels of judgment. To wit, the totality of Mystery Babel will be destroyed, and every man, woman, and child who was there at the time of its destruction will perish. None will survive. Despite this truth, many will disregard this warning. They are disregarding this warning even now, for they have been blinded to the true identity of Mystery Babel. And no wonder. This is why the word of truth refers to this nation as Mystery Babel, for its identity is indeed a mystery, and it is only being revealed to the chosen elect. It is only being revealed to those who will be carried through this tumultuous season. And if you're not convinced, this will indeed be a great destruction, the likes of which the world has never seen, then I call upon you to hear the word of Elohim. I call upon you to receive this word of truth. And if you are in the midst of Babel, now is the time to prepare yourself to flee. Jeremiah 50:46. At the sound of Babel's capture, the earth shall be shaken, and the outcry shall be heard among the nations. Now, here is the final word. Knowing the terror of Elohim, can you afford not to be taken? Will you surely be left behind? On this occasion, I trust you answered in the negative. Truly, we have only begun to critique the most violent days our world will ever see. The sifting of the nations will be terribly bad. The destruction of Mystery Babel will be even worse. And yet, the day of Yahuwah is still at hand. And if he has not taken you, if he is not carrying you, you will not be able to stand. Now, here is today's assignment. Meditate on the word you have heard today and ask the Father to reveal the truth to you. Remember, where there is no conviction, there can be no faith. And without faith, it is impossible to please him. Next, if the Spirit is leading you and you have not signed up for our mailing list, you can go to www.transformationbytruth.com to sign up today. We'll alert you as soon as podcasts are posted, and we'll share our presentations, notes, and other materials at no cost. It is for your edification. And most importantly, you will be connected to me and those who have joined themselves to this ministry as we prophesy and align current events with the prophetic word. These discussions are taking place outside of this podcast ministry. Therefore, if the Spirit is leading you, and only if the Spirit is leading you, I encourage you to come and see. You will be in good spiritual company. Lastly, if you have any questions, please submit them via our contact form on our website. If you have any comments, please share those on the video page for this podcast, also on our website. Now, here is what's next. We completed today's podcast, End Times 164, One Taken, One Left, Part 3. And the next podcast is entitled End Times 166, One Taken, One Left, Part 4. I will post this podcast on Monday, May 29th, 2023. Until then, my friends, continue to be led by the Spirit of Elohim. Continue to watch, continue to pray, continue in fasting, and most of all, continue to be focused, for the end is coming. The end is near.